Greetings, people of Earth. It's 11:02 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8:02 p.m. on the West Coast, and where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis in the Central Time Zone, it's 10:02 p.m. Welcome. I'm Jim Peters, and you're welcome. You're watching Jim Peters at Night. Uh, okay, so it was a nice day today. Now, you've heard me bitch about the weather in Minnesota before. It's like you've heard, winters here are the absolute pits. They're awful. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You get the Minnesotans will tell you, oh, we get to go cross country skiing and snowmobiling and all that shit. Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's awful. It's awful. But at least 7, if not 8 months of the year, it's fantastic here. Today was about 73 degrees, which is actually a little cool for this time of year. And the reason I bring that up is because if I didn't have to do a show, I think I probably would have went for a drive tonight. It's like right now, it's like 10:03. It's like 69 degrees outside. It's just fantastic. We got a thing going on here in the middle of the United States called continental climate. And if you look at a map of North America, Minneapolis is pretty much smack dab in the middle of the North American continent. Now, it's true, we do have more water within the state here in Minnesota than any other state in the union, including California. California has more shoreline. Well, actually, I don't think they do. They have more ocean shoreline, but we have more actual water. And on top of that, we got the largest Great Lake, Superior, borders Minnesota, and that's basically like the sea. If you've ever been to Chicago on the Navy Pier, you look out and you can't see anything. You might as well get an ocean liner. And if you've been to Duluth, that's pretty much true. You might as well get an ocean liner. And they do dock there. They started docking there again. You can go through the St. Lawrence Seaway from Duluth all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean. You can do that. I've done it. But they've only started doing it again like last year. I don't know why, the COVID or whatever, but for quite a few years you could not make that trip. And yeah, they use a freaking ocean liner. So the reason I brought that up is because here's the deal with continental climate. And you never hear this advertised. You never hear this when people talk about the weather in Minnesota. We've got this weird thing here where that it can be 85 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning. The problem is, even you go to the hottest places in America, Palm Springs or whatever, Death Valley, the desert. I don't know, you probably know this. It cools down at night quite severely, even in the hottest of places. But here, because we have this continental climate and we have the epitome of it probably anywhere on Earth, it does not cool down at night. It's the strangest thing. So you can go outside at 2 or 3 a.m. It's basically like it's day, but the sun isn't out. And I always really enjoy it. I will go out at 3 o'clock in the morning and take a little drive down the freeway and stuff because it's fantastic. It's hot as hell and there's no sun. And it's just really weird, really weird. So anyway, I bring that up because I like to talk about stuff. This is a talk show, that's what we do. And I'm known for talking about two things. I have reputation. I talk about conservative news and analysis, and I talk about the UFOs and the paranormal stuff. And they call it what we are redoing. I shouldn't say that we're redoing it. Everyone's happy with it, including me. Alex, the guy who did our opening, I've asked him to do another one that's double the length because everyone seems to like it so much. And he says, well, let's put a few catchphrases in there. What do you say? Like, okay, I'm the king of the conspiracy theorists. Put that in there, because I am. But, well, okay, what was I talking about? Well, first of all, let me tell you this. First of all, this is the only talk show in America where you call up with your camera. And that's not my BS. Talkers Magazine last month said the same thing. We're the first talk show in America where you call up with your camera. And to do that, there's a URL at the bottom of the screen right here. You go to jimatnight.com/call. That's our website, and that's a call page. And you go there, there's a giant blue button at the top of the screen. You push that button, you get to a preview screen, you get to check your camera and your mic and make sure the crap's out of your teeth and your hair is combed, and then you get stuck in the queue and I put you on the air. Now, we have only had a handful of callers since we started. I think this is our 9th show. I don't think I can kind of count on my tiny little fingers. Or 10th. This is our 10th show. So on Tuesday, we didn't do a show yesterday. I took yesterday off. On Tuesday, we did have a couple of people called in, Johnny and my good old friend from my radio days, David from San Francisco. And nice chats. You can do this too. I've asked everybody who's done this, everybody, and they say it's easy as pie. You'll see on that page in bold type, there's only one real caveat here. You have to use the Google Chrome web browser. Using that browser keeps you from having to download software to do this stupid dance. So you use that web browser, and pretty much everybody has it on their machines. I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's the most common one. But you make sure you use that one, and you will have no trouble getting right in. No problem. And here's the other thing: if you're on an iPhone or iPad, and you can call up from your phone, just like it's FaceTime, you can do that, and I'm happy to talk to you. If you're on an iPhone or iPad, you use the Safari web browser that came with that. The Google Chrome browser, even though you can download it for those devices, won't work for this. That's the only one. If you're on a Mac desktop, you still use the Google Chrome browser. So give us a call up, okay? And also you can leave us a text or voice message. There's another number down the screen right there. 408 458 5088. That's 408 458 5088. We got the best telephone number on the planet. We got it surely by chance. By the way, if you're curious, that's the area code for Silicon Valley. So I have a lot of relatives that live there, so I know that. Any rate, give us a call, and I also want to mention this too. You do not have to be watching the show to call in. We at least for the longest time here until we actually get this up and running and people are familiar and comfortable with this. I will talk to you about anything you want. We do not have to talk about what I was talking about previously in my monologue. You do not have to refer. We will talk about anything you want. Okay. So call in if you want. Like I said, you can leave a text or voicemail. I don't check the text or voicemail during the show. I also don't check the show chat. And last week we had a big blow up, on last Thursday, a week ago today. 2,400 people turned in for the show out of nowhere. A couple of influencers actually recommended it, which is very nice of them. I didn't talk to them or ask them. But the only negative comments we got during that blow up of traffic was people say, "How come you don't check the show chat?" And I know it's common for people who host shows like this. I know that it's common to check and reference the show chat, and I'm not going to do it. You know why? Because you can call in with your freaking camera. That's why. This is the only place in America you can do this, and you should do it. All right. Oh, and one more thing too. When you do call up, if you do want to call in with your camera, but you don't want to be on the screen, there's an option on the pull down menu in the preview screen that says no video. In other words, you have to select your camera. In most cases, most people only have one camera on their device, but if you have more than one, you get a choice. But there's always the choice there that says no video, and that will block your camera. And so we won't see you. Now, also, if you choose that, you're going to get a little pop-up dialog box that lets you upload an avatar. And it really helps because this is a visual medium. I wanted to do a radio show, but here we are doing TV. So you can upload a little avatar to represent you on the screen. Please do that if you do that. But yeah, you don't even have to show your face. See how simple it is? I mean, I asked everybody who's called up so far, and everybody says it is absolutely dead simple. It's actually simpler than dialing the telephone and calling into a radio station. No lie, it is. So give us a call, okay? Let me. Here's a rundown of where we're at. You can find our show on the following places: YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Twitch, Odyssey, and Trello. And we're on audio only on Podbean Live, which I'm really thinking about killing. Our show on Tuesday, for some reason, did not go through on Podbean, and I do not know why. I mean, we've had trouble connecting there in the past, but we thought we had a connection on Tuesday night, and apparently we didn't. So I don't, I mean, I can assure you, we're always going to post the audio of these programs as a podcast. That's always going to happen. I kind of started a few years ago in this whole bit. I have done radio and television in the past, but podcasting is close to my heart, and I love it. And I love the radio medium. I'm an audio guy. I'm not really a video guy, but I've done television before. And the best thing about doing this, I don't have to put on makeup. Actually, I mean, I suppose, if I was gonna be really, really, kosher, I should. I'm not gonna. I'm too lazy. I don't like it. The strange thing about television, you stop and think about this, about, like, broadcast television, and you go to a big television studio, and until recently, you had all those big hot lights that burned up shitloads of electricity. Now everyone uses LED lights, so it's really kosher. It's really cool, actually. Literally cool. Excuse me. But the crazy thing about that is you have to look fake so it looks real on TV. That's a strange thing. It's a really strange medium in that sense. You get all dolled up with a bunch of makeup, and if someone's sitting next to you in the television studio, you look like a clown, but on the monitor, you look great. It's just and you do radio, you skip all that shit, you know but we got a problem with podcasting now, and that is it's a relatively easy medium to get into. So everybody does get into it. So there's too many podcasts and there's too many people doing it badly. And not only that, what ends up being recommended or that people seem to afford or like or goes viral does not seem to make much sense to me. I've the vast majority of podcasts I've ever seen are terrible. They're terrible. 95% of them. Yeah, 5% of them are pretty good. That's true, but whatever. I'm just an old guy bitching. So we're on those 7 places plus Podbean. That's 8. All right, now I have a big, big announcement to make for next week. I was talking to David on the caller on Tuesday, and I've been thinking about this. We're going to try an experiment next week. We're only 2 weeks into this thing, or 3, I guess, tonight. And this is the time to screw around with this, especially before Labor Day. We're gonna go an hour earlier. Our shows are gonna be an hour earlier all week next week. Well, actually on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, because Wednesday is the Republican primary debate on Fox News, and we are going to start our show as soon as that's done, like within literally a minute of them wrapping that up. I'm not talking about the backstage stuff or all the commentary and all that shit. As soon as that debate is over, we are going to go live. It's scheduled from 9 to 11 Eastern. And so I figure we'll be going live about 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, around 10 in Central, 9 in Mountain. But that's only on Wednesday. The following on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, instead of going live at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, we're going to go live at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Got that? So it's 9 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone, and it'll be 8 p.m. in the Mountain. We're going to try this. I want to see what happens. Whether I want to see how the viewer statistics are going, and after doing that for 4 days, I'll spend the 3-day weekend analyzing that, and then when we come back the following Monday, we are either going to do that permanently or go back to the old schedule, one or the other, depending on how it goes. So that's what we got going on over here. Lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. We got a guest, Nathan Su from the Epoch Times is going to be our guest next Tuesday. He is a Chinese correspondent for the Epoch Times. He's a Chinese expat himself. And I don't know if you know this about the Epoch Times. If you look on the Wikipedia, then will tell you that the Epoch Times is a far-right extremist newspaper. That's bullshit. That's because they think anybody who doesn't have 3 boobies is a far-right extremist. That's what they think. The Epoch Times was started by a bunch of Chinese expats who hate the Chinese Communist Party. And guess what? So do I. I hate them too. Why? They're communists. Don't give me this crap about democratic socialism. That's just bullshit too. It's all bullshit, and none of it works. None of it has ever worked. Capitalism is a really flawed economic system. It's the only one that actually works. Period. You can talk till you're blue in the face. You can talk about people saying, no, you don't understand. We can do it right. No, you can't. It's intrinsically flawed. It will not work. And I can talk about that forever. I'm a first generation American. Both my parents are from Eastern Europe. Both of them lived under communist regimes. Especially for my father's family, it was terrible. What was terrible for my mother's family was the Second World War. And I'm trying to get my mother, if you listen to my podcast for the last few years, my mother has been a guest on it several times. She just had her 99th birthday. She's totally with it. She lives completely on her own. She lives in an apartment. She's no assistance, none of that stuff. She's a marvel to everybody who knows her, and she's kind of locally famous here because a guy at a local TV station decided to do a story on her about 7, 8 years ago, and that kind of blew up. Matter of fact, not only did he this is nuts. Not only did he win an Emmy for the story, he won the Edward R. Murrow National Award for the story on my mother. And I so Emmys, they're if you watch Gutfeld on Fox News, they're constantly joking about how easy it is. You get a regional Emmy, and that's actually true. But the Murrow Award, no, that's not easy. That doesn't happens to hardly anybody. And this guy, Boyd Hooper, who's at the local NBC affiliate here in Minneapolis, he won the Murrow Award for doing a story on my mom. Anyway, so I'm hoping to have her on here very shortly. My mother lived through the Second World War in Yugoslavia, and she spent the summer of 1945 sleeping behind a false wall in a closet so that her and her sister would not get raped by the German soldiers. Because at that point, they knew that they were losing the war. So, like, all hell broke loose. They were basically just running around town just raping girls. So, yeah, that's what my mother also did one other thing that was kind of cool too, if you want to call this cool. When she was 17, so and that was let me see, that would be when she in 1941, she had an appendectomy. She had her appendix removed with with no um with no anesthesia whatsoever. None. None. Not local, not lidocaine, nothing. She had her appendix taken out. And I've asked her, "Well, mom, what was that like?" And she said, her quote was, "It hurt like hell." No shit. I bet it did. Oh man. Good times with the fam, huh? Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna have her on fairly soon too. So I'm finally booking guests again. I had a little bit of, we're just getting started here, kind of just getting this rolling. Let me tell you what happened today. I'll tell you what happened today. And this, I gotta say, this just bugs the shit out of me. Joe Biden gave a speech. I don't know where he was. He's running around the country talking about Bidenomics. Yeah, like it's some great success. Uh, and he said, and he's actually yelling at the crowd. He's really angry. He says, "You tell me one thing I failed at." And I'm thinking, okay, I can name right off in 10 seconds, I can name three. It's like, how about Afghanistan? How about the border? How about inflation? How about, like, yeah, you failed at all this shit, you moron. This guy, he's delusional. And the thing is, I don't think this is because of age. I think he's always been this way. Our president is crazy. And the really funny thing is, this is what they said about Trump, and it wasn't true. And then they get all, well, you'll get all Joe to bring some dignity back to the office. Bullshit. There's no dignity. This guy is nuts. He's nuts and he's incompetent. Uh, I mean, okay, that's the thing. He says Afghanistan was a success, and apparently because he thinks so, that means it is. Of course, he will turn around to me and say, you little TV twerp, I'm the president of the United States, and my response to that is, I don't care. You're still a stupid jackass. You are. You're an idiot. This is. I get really upset about this crap. This is not good. Not good at all. Shit. The only thing I can think of that the Biden administration hasn't fucked up is the Ukraine situation, but it's in flux and we don't have the ending yet. We haven't we the final chapter, the curtain has not come down on this. But so far they have not fucked this up. But my guess is give them time and they'll fuck up that too. That's my guess. I'm I'm very, very torn on the whole Ukraine situation. I'm starting to lean more and more toward the fact that this is just an endless war and that the military industrial complex is running for their own profit and we should just get the hell out. The counter is that we get to fight our enemy Russia by proxy, which is not necessarily a bad thing to do if you're going to fight your enemy. But I'm starting to lean more and more the other direction. I've been very, very. I don't know what to think about this so far. And then he's talking about Bidenomics. So here are the statistics on Bidenomics. In year to date, in 1 year, we have increased the debt of the United States by $1.6 trillion, easily an all-time record. Not easily. I mean, that Biden or Obama's second, and he didn't even get to 50% of that. In 1 year, we increased the debt of the United States $1.6 trillion. It's now $32.6 trillion and counting. Now, you said that what is it? It comes out to something like $900,000 for every citizen and $250,000 for every federal taxpayer. Only, you got to understand that only about 100 million, only about a third of Americans actually pay federal taxes. So yeah, we're not, yeah, like we can make this up. Now, it's like this is, we never actually have to wipe this completely clean, but the fact is it's completely out of control at this point. Totally. Here's another thing for the previous year, it was up 122% from the year prior. The federal deficit. The debt. There's, and I got to explain this too. People throw these terms around all the time. The debt is the total debt of the United States, aggregated since forever. The deficit is the amount that the yearly budget is in the hole. And what is, I think the budget of the United States is about $16 trillion, I think. Well, year to date for the last 12 months, we are now $877 billion in the hole on the yearly budget. There was almost $1 trillion on the yearly budget. And you tell me that this isn't going to hurt. Now, we've had on our inaugural show, we had Murray Saber, the economist, on, and he's been saying, there's a lot of other people have been saying this, although I will, in fairness, offer a caveat here too. He said that we're going to have a major recession before the middle of next year, basically in the next 12 months. I saw a graph on Fox Business this afternoon that said that most economists, the majority of economists, think we're going to have a quote unquote soft landing. In other words, things are going to go a little haywire, but not a lot. I think it was about 50% said a soft landing, and 25% had said a hard landing, which is what Sabrin's been predicting. And actually, I have too. I think we're going to get to a point sometime in the next 12 months where something's going to happen that's going to make the entire economy completely blow up. And he's saying the same thing. I don't understand. I don't expect. I'm not a trained economist. I don't pretend to understand where all the vagaries of this, but he does, and he says there's a whole bunch of economic indicators that have came up in the past that seem to point right to major recession. So there's that, and then the other thing is the lying and the gaslighting is just unbelievable. Yeah, so Biden says, "Yeah, name me one thing I failed at." Well, I just named three, and I didn't even have to think about it. That was off the top of my head. So Robert Reich, the former, he the economic advisor? No, Treasury. He was the Secretary of the Treasury, right? Yeah, he was the Secretary of the Treasury under Barack Obama. He says that not only do we have what he calls a Goldilocks economy, he said he can never recall any time in American history where the economy has been this good. How about this? Try 5 years ago. Try that. I mean, this is the thing. I do. I understand. I understand wanting to beat your competitors. It's a natural thing. I understand the tit for tat between the two parties. And like my friend Tim Conaway is running for president. Like he said, it's the uniparty. You got the Republican National Corporation and the Democratic National Corporation. That's why I will sit here and I will tell you that I'm a libertarian and that I lean highly conservative, but I'm not a Republican. And if the Republicans did the same bullshit, I would call it out too. I'd say I am not here to represent the Republican Party. But that said, it's not just trash talk. They're just plain, they fucking lie. And especially when it comes to Trump. And I don't understand this either. I don't. I mean, I know it's been going on for like years now. I don't understand. Their hatred for Trump is so monumental and so irrational that I don't buy it. I don't understand. I was just reading today that apparently they're now setting the schedules for the court schedules for Trump's 4 different trials, and they will keep him from campaigning right now, it looks like throughout the entirety of the first half of 2024. And of course, like somebody said, well, that's their goal. They are ganging up again to make sure this guy does not win the presidency. And the hate it's not just he's not in their mind, he's not a normal candidate. He's not an ordinary candidate. If DeSantis was running for president, let's say, yeah, they would throw stuff and they would throw bricks, but they're not throwing bricks now. They're throwing gasoline and matches. That's what they're doing. That's the difference. And I don't it seems to be uniquely Trump. This has never happened before in American history. Well, of course it hasn't. We the first president ever to be indicted. But Reich says he does never remembers an economy this good, and that's just patently wrong. It's you have to I mean, if you can't understand how and this is also the other thing too, they don't understand how good the, Trump economy was. They won't acknowledge it. They it's like, I don't they won't acknowledge anything he's done right, where I will sit here and I will tell you that Bill Clinton was a great president, he was, and George W. Bush wasn't, and I'm sorry, I mean, if you're a staunch Republican, you may not like to hear me say that, but he was not a good president. He wasn't. We need some objectivity here to make the country run well, and they do not care. They have completely given up the pretext. Now, and I've said this on previous shows. I'm going to keep repeating this because I think it's important for people who have never turned into it before. The um, yeah, sometimes I have to remember what it is. we we have a thing right now in the United States where the basically the country is very, very slowly turning conservative. I'm not the only person who notices this. And the Democrats will tell you the opposite. They said, no, people are leaving conservative in the Republican Party. That is not true. No, it's very slow. It's glacial, but it's happening. And I think, and I said this a couple nights ago, I think that you give this 20 years, and I think the Republicans will dominate will have a 20 to 40 year domination of American politics, the same way the Democrats did there in the 1950s to 70s in the United States. Well, actually, okay, it lasted from 50 to 90, basically. The Democrats held the House for what 44 years, I think it was, until Newt Gingrich won the contract for America, and that was 96, off the top of my head. I think that's gonna happen again in reverse. That's what I think is gonna happen. The and yeah, and even this is the same piece, in, MSNBC. Matter of fact, I'm sorry, I don't normally do this, but I wanna read you some of this because this is just like I know I personally think this is kinda rude, but I'm reading you and not showing you a picture. It's a visual medium. But here, so Joy Reid is interviewing Robert Reich on, MSNBC. He was a former labor secretary. That's what it was. And she says, "It seems to me that the more Republicans scream about drag queens and putting PragerU videos instead of real history in schools, it's an indication to me they want to avoid talking about Bidenomics because Bidenomics is actually working." Is that how you read it? First of all, that's a complete utter lie. She can talk about the PragerU and drag queens, and that's her opinion. Bidenomics is not working. Period. And all Americans know that. They can tell because of their pocketbooks. It is not working. It's just a lie. So they've just decided they're going to go ahead and gaslight the whole thing. Well, Reich, his reply to that, he said, quote, "I think that is exactly right, Joy. They're trying to deflect attention from the fact the economy is great. Once again, a complete bald-faced lie. It's a Goldilocks moment. I'll tell you, and I've been watching and participating in economic policy for at least 30 years. I don't recall an economy that's ever been this good." That's what he said. Well, that's because he has a memory apparently of a goldfish. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, if this is complete utter bullshit. And if you do the shopping for your family, you know that. I do the shopping for my family. I like going shopping. I talk, sooner or later you're gonna tired of listening to me talk. I know. I'm just hoping it's not for 10, 15 years from now. But I do the shopping for my family. And so I have noticed lately it's really disgusting. Stuff in the supermarket that's $3 to $5 has doubled in price in the last 9 months. I went to my vitamin store the other day. I talked about this on Tuesday. I don't care. I'm going to mention this again. I've been taking this herbal energy formulation for about 20 years now. The reason I like it is because it doesn't have any caffeine in it, and it's great. It really perks you up, and it lasts for a good 6 to 8 hours, and you don't crash. It's fantastic, and I've never grown immune to it. I've been taking it like for 20 years. Well, I went to the vitamin store to pick some up the other day, and I've been paying $15 a bottle for this for 20 years. All of a sudden, it's 25. Yeah, welcome to Biden's America. It's like, okay, I'm now paying. Suddenly, after 20 years, I'm paying more for this all of a sudden. Gee, is that a coincidence? Oh, no. They'll tell me it's because of Trump. That's what they'll tell me, that Trump screwed this up. No, no, you screwed it up. You screwed it up. You don't have to be a freaking economist to understand that if you print a shitload of money and put it out into the system, it devalues the money that's already there. That's called inflation. That's what happened. You printed out way more money for the COVID relief than was necessary. And yes, even I will tell you, some of it, a good deal of it was necessary, but not the amount you put out, because apparently you're trying to buy votes. Apparently, that's the idea. So it's like, oh my God, the president's sending me money, I'll vote for him, and unfortunately that works. So they'll do that. And then now they're trying to do the same thing with the student debt thing. It appears that he's finally cleared at least some of that student debt to be forgiven. Oh my God, the president, says I don't have to pay my loan back. I guess I'm going to vote for him. Fuck you! Don't do that. You're an idiot. Matter of fact, I don't know. I saw this thing on TV today. I think this was on Fox News. I can't remember, where some young woman, said that even though she owed a shitload of money on her student debt, she was not going to accept the handout. She said, "I'm paying it back," and I'm just thinking, "Good for you, girl." Now I know that's difficult. I really do. I'm not gonna tell you to do that, because especially right now, where I mean, your money's worth less and less every day. I would say take the money, but don't vote for Joe. That's what I'd say. There's been a rumor. Okay, I'm sitting smack dab in Elon Omar's district here. This is this district in Northeast Minneapolis is one of the three most liberal districts in the entire United States. I'm a conservative fellow living in a liberal world. And the terrible thing is, I mean, I totally admit this. I used to be a liberal fella, and I was. That my conversion was slow. Took about 10 years, from about 2000 to 2010, and my wife is appalled. but but I'm sitting in Elon Omer's district, and I can't tell you this as a fact, but I will tell you that there's been speculation and rumors going on for years that she pays people $200 to vote for her. That especially people in the Somali community, that she pays them to vote for her. So, might as well just shell the money out. Oh, and then I'm sleeping with my brother. I married my brother. There's that too. I mean, th- and the thing is, I have a lot of friends who think this woman is marvelous. She's a lunatic. I mean, she shouldn't be doing. She has no business doing anything. She's no business working at a Wendy's, let alone being part of Congress. I mean, she's crazy. Oh well, here we go. She got elected first Somali representative in the House of Reps of the United States. Okay, all right. So give me a call. Right, go to jimandknight.com/call. You can join the conversation here. You know, otherwise I'm not going to talk here forever. All right, another thing that happened today, and this didn't make really the major news, and this might be important. The chief White House consul, the guy's name is Stuart Dellery, is quit. He quit. He's leaving at the end of the month, and he would be the person who, for example, if Joe Biden is impeached, and I had who was I talking to? Oh, Mark Tapscott, one of our guests last week. We talked about the vagaries of that. I'm not certain that's a good idea, and actually, Mark said the same thing. But I totally understand. I mean, he should be. I mean, but the thing is, you're never going to get it past the Democrats in the Senate ever. So it's futile as an exercise. One reason you might want to do it though is you get to start an impeachment inquiry, which is a formal type of declaration on an investigation, and it gives you some subpoena power. I actually think the quote unquote impeachment inquiry is more important than the actual impeachment because you get to subpoena because it's plain. I mean, I saw that. This is another thing, and this gave me a headache. I saw this yesterday too about the fact that the Democrats in the United States don't buy the fact that Joe Biden has been compromised in any way or is engaged in corruption or bribery. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they proved it now. They proved it. When you have money going, I said 2 weeks ago, I was saying, and at that time was true, excuse me, some of that Northeast Minneapolis water. It's fantastic. At that time, I was saying that there was two problems with this, and that is they have not shown any direct money going from his foreign entity directly into Joe's bank account, and that they've shown that they have not shown that any of this shenanigans happened while he was president. It all happened while he was vice president. Those are the two problems I saw with this whole thing about the corruption issue. Now, Mark or Jazz Shaw, who was a guest on a couple of weeks ago from hotair.com, he said that, and he covers this pretty carefully for the Salem Media Group. He said that his sources are telling him that James Comer actually has that smoking gun, that they already have it. They're keeping it in their back pocket to release it at exactly the right time. Okay, fine. All right, that's interesting. That's really interesting. But another thing has come up here in that they now with the release of the bank records as of last week, I can't remember. Excuse me. The bank records of last week, they did show definitively that money went directly from foreign entities into Joe's grandchildren's accounts. We're talking about kids who are 8 and 10 and 12 years old. We're talking about kids who can't hold a job. We're talking about kids who are not consultants or lobbyists or anything like that. They're little kids, and they have shown now that money went directly from foreign entities, specifically in this case, I think it was China, directly into their bank accounts. And I did not know this at the time, but I found this out a few days ago. That is considered that legally that is considered bribery. That's in the bribery statutes. If you get money sent to your children and not you, doesn't matter. It's still bribery anyway. That money might as well have gone to you. So he has met the legal threshold for bribery now. The guy, he's the most corrupt president in American history. I'm just not saying that. I'm not a Republican sitting here saying that. I am not. God bless Hannity. I know he can't say a positive thing about Democrats ever. I will, but there's nothing positive to say here. Joe Biden is corrupt. He's incompetent, and he's personally an asshole. That's yeah. You tell somebody who went 4 years without recognizing their grandkid, that's an asshole, folks. That's how you define that. He's an asshole. Our president is an asshole. You got that? I'm not afraid to say it. And now he's also a bribe. He's corrupt. So they've already got the goods on this now. And the amazing thing is what my point was, what we're really talking about here is that about 3/4 of the Democrats in the United States that will not recognize it. They think this is all made up. I can't. It's all right. Now I understand the mainstream media is completely blocking this out again. They don't talk about this. They're not going to talk about this. It's Hunter Biden's laptop all over again. The fact that uh, I can understand not running stories on it, but when Twitter blocked the account of the New York Post for what was it, 5 weeks, just because they felt like it. I mean, that's censorship, and it turns out that it really is censorship because now the I mean I this was we're talking about this in a previous show. I can't and I don't I'm not going to quote this because I can't remember the exact wording. The judge, uh, the attorney generals from both Missouri and Louisiana have sued the federal government, saying that they control by controlling these social media companies that they were engaged in censorship. And the judge that I mean that hasn't even come to trial yet. Matter of fact, the hearing is whether it should, and if I'm right, it is going to. The judge said that if this is true, it's the single worst example of the violation of First Amendment rights in American history, and it is. You know, it's one thing for the companies to do them. Now, I mean, there's Section 230 that which actually I'm very familiar with Section 230 because 25 years ago, when Section 230 was actually drawn up, I was running an internet company, so I know a lot of all sorts of stuff about this. But the thing is, these companies aren't even really following Section 230 anyway. Section 230 says that if you don't edit your content, or if content mean what your users are posting, if you don't edit users' posts other than for stuff that's really severe, like obscenity or threatening or physical violence or that sort of stuff. But if you don't threaten, if you don't, you are not you're not a publication and you're not an editor, and therefore you can't get sued for that stuff. That's what Section 230 originally says. Conversely, if you do edit that stuff, you are an editor, and now you're editing, and now you're a publication, and you can get sued for what you publish. And the thing is that every single suit that's ever been brought against the social media companies invoking Section 230, they have won so far because the definition of what um, editing posts is, well, I don't, if you take down the New York Post account for 5 weeks and don't let them post at all, I would say that's editing, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't understand. This law has been abused by the courts. I have to say the courts have dropped the ball here because they can't decide what the term editing means. But now these two AGs from Louisiana and Missouri, they sued the federal government, and this is going to go to trial, and this is going to look really, really bad. I mean, we have an entire administration that has weaponized all forms of government against the American populace. You know, and the things all we want to do is talk. You know, it's like all right, I shouldn't say this, on an actual broadcast. I just kind of assume sooner or later YouTube's gonna pull the plug on the show. I just assume that. Like, that's what they seem to do, and so, I just figure they're gonna do it. La-di-da. Alright, come on, call me up. Alright, go to jimatnight.com/call. Give me a call. You can do it. It's really simple. That's the thing. It's super simple. It really is. Alright, here's another story that came out today. This was in Breitbart. China's psychological warfare. American teens have developed TikTok brain. No shit. Have you noticed? So I'm going to read just a couple sentences of this. Early studies suggest that TikTok is actually changing youth's attention spans. The TikTok platform, owned by a hostile foreign country, is a dopamine machine, quote unquote. John Hutton, director of the Reading and Literacy Discovery Center in Cincinnati Children's Hospital, said. Due to this, it is getting increasingly more difficult for young people to pay attention to things that don't give them instant gratification. Now, have you been on TikTok? For my previous employer, he said, Jim, maybe we should get on, the publisher said, maybe we should get on TikTok. Why don't you check it out? So I did. And TikTok is kind of unusual, and that is you can access it through the internet, but you can't sign up for an account over the internet. You have to do it through an app. And this is actually, we got off at Telegram, and I know there's a lot of people who love Telegram, but I and the people working here, we're all web programmers, and Telegram does not run off the internet. Actually, it is a separate app unto itself. And frankly, we couldn't figure it out. I got to be honest. We just couldn't do it. I don't have time to burn on stuff like that. Um, so we're not on Telegram. We're not on TikTok because I refuse. Well, first of all, TikTok won't show landscape mode video, so there's that too. I'm not gonna. I don't. I refuse to do the show on a tiny little screen. I mean, if you want to watch on your phone, that's great, but I'm not gonna deliberately limit it. Even though like we post a couple announcements. When we post announcements, we do them as what's called shorts. The portrait vertical. And I'm going to post one tonight about the time change tomorrow or next week. But the thing is, so anyway, so I got on TikTok, and I signed up, and I'm looking around, and I gotta admit, I was fucking appalled. It's like, really? First of all, the vast majority of the shit is completely non-entertaining. It's just crap. And I know there's millions of kids who just are on there for hours watching crap just in a row. I am appalled as a 67-year-old man at what current people now consider entertainment. I mean, I in the vast majority of instances, I would rather like sit and look at my navel. I would. This is not entertainment. Now, I have to say, like, it's the 80-20 rule, or I'd say the 95-5 rule, or whatever. On not on well, no, I think I found this on TikTok. There's a woman named Amanda Derrick, who's a dancer, and she posts these short videos, the vertical videos, 30-second videos, and she posts them on TikTok and YouTube. And I ran into this, and she's phenomenal. I mean, I know she's been now on broadcast television. I don't know, it's like, and she has, millions of followers. But I mean, I'm astonished at how good a dancer this woman is. It's just amazing. And she's put out a video almost like every other day. And the thing is that they're only 30 seconds long, but the choreography involved must be I mean, I'm sure they rehearse for a day, and then, they probably do 70 takes of that, even though there's no cutting. So they get it right. I'm astonished at how good she is. It's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, she would make Fred Astaire look like a fool, and that's saying something, you know? But she's just an island in the universe. She's the exception to the rule. All the rest of the shit's crap. It's just crap. And yes, so China says, yeah, they're going to they're not going to take over the country with guns or tanks or missiles. They aren't. They're going to take over the country by buying everything. That's what they're going to do. They're going to buy the whole freaking thing because they will have the money. But now, okay, that's their goal. That's their 100-year plan, and they work off that too. I mean, they are known for doing really long range planning. Here in the United States, we can't plan more than 6 months ahead. We're just morons. But they're and that's kind of a cultural thing with the Asian community. They think that way. They do. But let me give you an example of what's going on there. I have a cousin of mine who works in the transportation department here in the state of Minnesota. And announcement. This is about 5 years ago now. There's an announcement that uh, the Mayo Clinic, which is arguably the most famous hospital in the world, is 90 miles south of downtown Minneapolis, in Rochester, Minnesota, a town of about 100,000 people, and it was started there. And so it's been there the entire time, or at least the main office. And if you go to downtown Rochester, half of downtown Rochester is the clinic. And Rochester is not a small city. It isn't. But it's astonishing. The campus for the Mayo Clinic is absolutely enormous, but it's down there. And the thing is, if you talk to those people, they now will say privately they regret not opening the clinic in Minneapolis. Because other than the Mayo Clinic, there's nothing in Rochester, Minnesota. Even though this town gets all these glorious reviews on best places to live and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's a nice place to live. It's also boring as hell. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Rochester, but it's the best hospital in the world, and it is. I mean, I've had family members who are going there. I know, I mean, it is the best hospital in the world. So about 5-6 years ago, these guys here in Minneapolis said that they were going to build a high-speed rail line from downtown Minneapolis to downtown Rochester. Now, right now, that drive takes 90 minutes, and they said they were going to do a high-speed rail where it would take 45 minutes to make the trip. And people, and the people at the Mayo Clinic, they're thrilled because and also right now, although Rochester does have an airport, and because of the Mayo Clinic, it's quite busy for a city that size. A lot of people land at Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport and then take a car down there, especially because our airport is on the south side of the metro, so it's actually a little closer to Rochester. I'm guessing you could make the drive from the airport in maybe 70 to 75 minutes to downtown Rochester. So anyway, so these guys said that. So they said, "All right, we're going to build this rail line, and we're not going to accept any public money." These are a bunch of really rich guys in town who said that they were actually going to do this as a private enterprise, and they were going to make their investment back on literally the tolls, on the ticket fees. And it's like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. You don't want no. They said no. If we ask for federal assistance or a federal grant, it's going to take forever. And they said, "No, we don't want this to take forever. We just want to do it. We're just going to do this and get it over with." Okay, fine. That's great. So time goes by, a couple of years go by, and I don't know what made me think, but one day I'm talking to my cousin Andy. I said, "Andy, whatever happened to um, the high-speed rail between Minneapolis and Rochester?" And he says, "Yeah, Jim, I'll tell you what happened. We found out," he says, "we being the Department of Transportation, the state of Minnesota." He said, "We found out that those rich guys were actually a front for the Chinese government. The Chinese government was going to build this rail line and get the fees." And the thing is, that goes along with their stated intention, that'd be the Chinese, to basically buy up the entirety of the infrastructure of the United States. So, and of course, Andy said as soon as we figured this out, he said we killed it, and also those rich, quote unquote, rich guys, even though they were actually rich guys, that's the weird part. It's like they got talked to, or they got paid, or corralled into doing this. They were fronting for the Chinese government. It was not their own money. So, I mean, that gives you some idea about where that's at. Now, I'm going to have Nathan Sue on Tuesday, and one of the primary reasons I'm having him on is because I don't know if you're following this, that right now it appears that the Chinese economy is completely going to hell, totally. I mean, I don't know if we're talking about a complete collapse, but they're having major issues, and it's been brought up that 6 months ago, Xi the Winnie the Pooh addressed the country on television and said, that we can get out of this in 6 months. He said, we're working hard. He said, I basically said, I feel your pain, and we're going to correct this issue. And it's 6 months later, and it's gotten worse, not better. So, and then there's another thing. Is it called Everguard? I have a note here somewhere for that interview. It's no, Evergrande. Company Evergrande. They are the largest construction developer of homes and real estate in China, and they went bankrupt. And they owe I don't have it in the note here. I think they owe something like $500 billion or something like that. They went bankrupt in the United States. I don't know what bankrupt is like in China, and I don't know if it's even possible, but they filed for bankruptcy here in the US. So they've got the distinct problems. The thing, communism is a weird thing because, like, it's fatally flawed. It will never actually work in the long term, but they have some real advantages. And the advantages of is they can react to conditions quite quickly. Here in the United States, democracy is slow as molasses, if even that. It's like the only thing I can think of is that we are getting to the point now where, and this is also my theory about why um, I thought that what was happening to happen in the United States right now, what it was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen for another 5 or 10 years. The we have all right. Let me collect my thoughts here. What am I thinking about? What am I talking about? Hey, Hey, give me a call. Give me a call. You can call up. Yeah, just call up. So the oh Jesus Christ, God. This is what happens, man. Don't get old. Don't do it. You know, I keep telling my nephews, my nephews and nieces. I don't have any children myself. I have a shitload of nephews and nieces, all different ages. I tell them, you guys are going to live to 120. Not only that, you'll be healthy until when you're 122. Uh, and uh, and yeah, that's probably true. I got my mother's genes. Her mother lived to be 104. She was healthy before 2 weeks before she passed away. All right, so what am I talking about here? I'm talking about the fact that all right, this is embarrassing. I tell you what, you know something? Where I'm gonna close up for tonight. All I'm doing now is making an ass out of myself. So, once again, I just wanna tell you, to next week, we these shows we've we've started all of them so far at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. Next week, we're going to start an hour earlier, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, except for Wednesday when we're going to go live as soon as the debate is done. Got that? Which will probably be around 11 p.m. Eastern. So that's the stated time for it to finish anyway. So and I mean right away, as soon as the gavel goes down on the debate, well, we're going to run a 1 minute timer countdown, and we're going to be on. So keep that in mind. But we're going to try this because I want to see how the viewership goes up and down, whether we get more viewers or less. So in my perfect world, I would have actually liked to start 2 hours earlier, but because of the usage of the studio, we can't do that. So anyway, yeah, that's what we got. So you can if you want to give me a call after the fact, you can call and leave a voicemail or a text message to 408-458-5088. You know, I want to get to the point where if we're going to do the show Monday through Thursday, where Thursday is callers only. My goal is to have guests on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And this week we did not accommodate. We accomplished that. But normally that's my guy. I want to have guests on Monday, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays, and I want to do call in only on Thursday. But you got to call, see, and nobody did tonight. Oh well. Okay. All right. So, folks, I want to thank you, folks, for watching. Thank you. Just made an ass out of myself at the end. Hopefully, I make it up to you on the backside. And I hope you have a good weekend. And I will see you on Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Mountain on Monday. Got that? All right. Thanks. You guys take care. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.